So you start a small business selling your products online. The first thing that you have to think about is how you're going to get those products. You basically have two options here. You can buy them from a manufacturer or you can make them yourself. When I first started my small business, I actually had this idea in my head that I was gonna make everything from home, from scratch. I was gonna do everything. It took me maybe 2 months to realize that wasn't gonna work out for me. I wanna help you guys figure out which is gonna be best for you. I didn't have any of this help and it really hindered my growth. First of all, I thought we could start with buying from a manufacturer. And this is perfect because I just had a delivery from a manufacturer. So let's open this up and talk about the pros and cons of buying from a manufacturer. The pros of buying from a manufacturer. It takes way less time, which is something that is very important to me, is having more time so I can make things like social media content. Like, I'm just one person. I can't sit here every single day, you know, fighting my Cricut machine to try and get it to make sticker sheets when I could just go online and buy them and have someone make them for me. It just, buying from a manufacturer completely cuts out all of that stress and time and the wasted paper and the wasted ink. It is a lot less stressful, I will say that much, but most of the time. Trying to get the Cricut machine, you can see it behind me, I spent weeks trying to get it to do sticker sheets for me and it just never worked. It would always cut through the designs wouldn't print off properly sometimes. And I was spending a lot of time making these sticker sheets and they weren't even turning out like really good. They weren't turning out to be the quality that I wanted anyway. When I started buying my sticker sheets from manufacturers, yes, it can take a while for things to ship. These alone took a couple of weeks to arrive, I'll admit that. At least I'm not spending those few weeks just fighting with a machine that isn't working with me. I can spend that time while I'm waiting for them to arrive doing other things like making social media content, doing market stalls, whatever I want. So even though it can take a while for them to arrive, you have more time to do other things while you're waiting. Another pro of buying from a manufacturer, you're not held back by what machines you do and don't have. So making products at home, I really only could have made art prints, bookmarks and stickers. Buying from manufacturers has allowed me to expand and buy things like keychains. Not just keychains, I have notepads now, I have pins and so many more products. If you're going to solely try to make everything by yourself at home, you're gonna need a lot of time and a lot of different equipment to be able to make these things. Obviously, in the long run, buying from manufacturers is technically more expensive, but in the short run, if you don't have the money to buy the equipment you need, then it's kind of going to be hard to make a big variety of selection of products on your shop because you're going to be limited to what your printer can do or what your cutting machine can do. I will say, buying from manufacturers has not only allowed me to grow my stock, but I am no longer wasting half as much ink or half as much paper as what I used to be. I can save my ink and my paper for things like making backing cards for my keychains or making art prints and bookmarks. When I was doing things like making my own stickers, it was so much trial and error, and because of that, I wasted a lot of ink and a lot of paper. But don't get me wrong though, I am very well aware that there are cons to buying from manufacturers. Yes, there are cons to outsourcing your products and your work to other people. Let's talk about that. The first problem that I have with buying from manufacturers is that I don't get to see the physical product until it arrives. I very recently just bought some Calico Cat keychains. So here they are. There we go, look at that. While I do think it's cute and I am relatively happy with it, if I had made this at home, I probably would have took one look at this and thought, the yellow parts of the Calico Cat, like the ginger parts, are a little too bright for my liking. I wish they were maybe a little more orangey. I think they're a little too yellow. Now, no, this isn't the end of the world. I don't think they're unsellable. They're perfectly fine quality. That is just me as an artist being picky. The digital product that you see on your screen is not gonna look the same as the physical product when it arrives, which is a bit of a problem because if there are little minor details you wish you could change, it's kind of hard because they're not gonna take that back and change that for me just because the color is slightly off. And yes, it is a small, very picky detail, but as a business owner, I want my products to look as good as they possibly can. And honestly, the only other con that I could think to say was that they can take a while to arrive. There is the chance that it could get lost or damaged in shipping or whatever. That is very stressful. That is also a con. Say you go to a convention and you have a really good day and you sell out of quite a few of your products. If you rely on manufacturers to make your products and you had a convention the next week, you wouldn't be able to get that stock back in unless you paid a lot of money to get it delivered fast. But even then, there's no guarantee it would arrive in time. You're relying on other people to do these things for you. You don't have as much control, whereas if you were making these things at home, you wouldn't have to worry about that because you have all the tools there. Again, it's not really like a big con. It can be a little annoying sometimes when you're waiting for these new keychains or whatever and it's taking like a month to arrive. However, I will admit, despite the fact that I was going to start my business and I had every intention to make things from home, I actually found that buying from manufacturers is so much better for me because I also work a part-time job. So if you're like me and you have other responsibilities that you need to take care of, buying from a manufacturer is just going to be probably the easier option for you, even if you have to give up a little bit of control over your final products. Now, let's talk about making products from home. Even though I have actually switched mainly to manufacturers for my products, that doesn't mean that I still don't make products at home on my own as well. I think you have to carefully choose what you're going to make at home and what you're going to buy from manufacturers. Some things are just worth it to make yourself at home. Like, for example, art prints. I don't buy them from manufacturers because I have a really good printer that I bought at the beginning of my business that makes really good quality art prints for me. So why would I buy them from a business? That's gonna cost me more. And it doesn't really cost me much time. I mean, all I have to do is hit print and they're pretty much done. And it's not just that, bookmarks as well. Bookmarks are also very easy to make from home. Again, you just need a printer, and I also have a laminator, so I laminate them as well, and a corner cutter, but I will show you guys that in a minute because I am going to print some stuff out. And this is a perfect example of wasted ink. This happens a lot when you're doing things from home. Now, I don't like to be a negative Nancy, okay? But it does feel like when I make things from home that it feels like a lot of just wasted money because I waste so much on like ink and paper, and then things like that happen and then I have to buy more ink and more paper, and it's like, and there you have it. One of the cons of making things from home. Live from Abinova. Now, the pros and cons of making products from home. We'll talk about the cons first, not because, you know, there's a lot of cons, but because you saw just before what happened when I tried to make my own backing cards. Things like that happen often when you're making products from home. There's a lot of trial and error. A lot of people say that buying from manufacturers is more expensive, even me, but it's only really expensive in the long run. And I would even argue that making products from home is expensive mainly because there is so much room to mess up. There is so much wasted paper and wasted ink and wasted time even. Like, your time is precious when you're a business owner, and it can be really frustrating. Even as someone who's been making her own prints and doing backing cards for like months now, there are still times where things mess up and it's just not my fault. There's nothing I can do if the printer suddenly decides to cancel itself. And I think all of that can amount up to a lot of money, especially ink. Ink is so expensive. And it's not just the little things like paper and ink. If you want to make your own products from home, you're gonna have to buy a printer, like a really good quality printer. My printer downstairs isn't like a super high-end one, but it is a pretty good printer. It was £260, I believe, and I got it from Amazon. And then I also bought a Cricut machine, and that cost me around 360, I think, 380 again. So combined together, for me to be able to make my own stickers at home, it cost me about £600. That's a lot. Go ahead and buy those kinds of machines if you think it's right for you, but not a lot of people start a business with that kind of money. So I do class that as a con. However, let's talk about the upside to that, shall we? It costs more in the short run, sure, but in the long run, it probably will cost you less. Like a lot less. I'm talking it may cost you like 50 pence for a print, you know? But again, not a lot of people get the option to pick the short run money option because they just don't have it when they start out. And you know, it's not only just like the printer and the Cricut machine, like there's a lot of things that go with it. Like you're gonna need the Cricut mats, which is a separate cost altogether. If you wanna make sticker sheets, you're gonna have to buy sticker paper. You're gonna have to test the sticker papers and find what one's best for you. Even things like my little guillotine here that I have to use when I make prints so I can cut them down if I need to. A laminator, I need to buy a laminator for my bookmarks to make them higher quality. So there's lots of little things like that as well. However, my favorite pro about baking things from home is the quality control. If there is something that comes out, like if one of these prints had come out a little bit rough, maybe I just noticed something. Like there's been many times where I have made a design and not realized until I physically held it in front of me that something wasn't right with it. Like maybe the colors were a little too dark, maybe the shading was off. Being able to have that control and just go, you know what, it's fine, I can just make it again, I'll just print it off again, I can do that right now. It's so great. That is one thing I hate about the manufacturers. If something goes wrong, it just feels like a bit of a nightmare. I remember when I first printed this out, this print, it was a little dark. Like it was a little too saturated. I wanted it to be a pastel print. So I actually just went in, fixed the colors, and voila, I'm so happy with this print. And that's because I had control over the quality. I had more control over the final outcome. And those are my two prints, looking good. Honestly, my best advice is try a little bit of both. Just don't be like me and buy a ton of machines and then realize you hate using those machines and never use them again. That Cricut is so dusty, you guys have no idea. Just really think about your situation, because you think that making things at home will not take half as much time as what it actually does. And I really admire people who make all of their products at home by themselves, because it does take so much time. It's so much trial and error. Even when you figure things out with the Cricut machine, there's just no guarantee that there won't be days where it just doesn't work. I do think if you're like me and you have a job and you have all these other responsibilities, buying from manufacturers is just gonna save you so much time, and you can focus on other parts of your business that need it, as well as just, you know, the product. There's no way I could work a part-time job and come home and make everything on my own. That would be impossible. Just do your research. There are so many good manufacturers out there. When it comes to having a small business, nothing really comes easy. If you guys want to see how I actually make my products, how I buy my products, I pretty much vlog anything I do. So if you don't want to feel alone in this small business endeavor, the vlogs are where it's at. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!